Hello everybody, welcome to a new episode of Low Code Corner. Every Monday, as you know, every Monday morning I publish a new episode to discuss how to solve a very specific problem you might face during the development of a DaDaBIK application. If you want to keep updated on these videos, click on subscribe and then hit the notification bell here on YouTube. Today we are going to talk about users management. As you know, in DaDaBIK we have in the admin area a permissions page where you can, as admin, set permissions related to tables, fields, views, custom pages, and so on and so forth. But there are a couple of things that only admins, so only the users belonging to the admin group, that by default is the group having ID group 1, only those users, admin users, can do. And the first thing is accessing this admin area, because if I'm not an admin, I cannot access this admin area. And the second one is managing users and groups. So at the moment I'm logged in as root. So if I click on exit admin, I access the front end of the application, and I also see users and groups here. So I can manage users and groups. And I can go back to the admin area by clicking on edit this app. However, if I'm logged in as Alice, who is not part of the admin group, I cannot even see the edit this application link, and I don't have access to users and groups. What can happen in some situations? It can happen that maybe you want some groups, some users. You want to allow them to manage the users, so add new users, modify existing users, and so on and so forth. But you don't want them to access the admin area of the application. So you don't want them to edit the application. This can happen, for example, if you develop an application for a client, you then deploy the application. The client asks you to be able to add new users to the application, and it's fine, but you don't want the client to access the admin area of the application. How can you solve this problem? Once again, you can use views. Let me show how. So we should log in as an admin user again. And then we are going in our admin area, and in particular data tab, data section. And here we are going to create a new view. This view basically will be based on the DaDaBIK users table. That is the default table. If you're not using a custom users table, or and if you haven't changed the prefix internal table in the configuration file, the table containing the users of a DaDaBIK application is the table DaDaBIK users, DaDaBIK_users. So we can create a view based on that table. We can call it just users, for example. or if you want users view, as select asterisk from DaDaBIK users, and that would be enough. If you want to create a view that is based exactly on the same data as the original DaDaBIK users table, but actually we want to exclude admin users, because this view is going to be the one that we are using for our client, and we want the client, we want to allow the client to access the users, but not all the users, only the non-admin users. So where ID group is not 1, different than 1. Again, ID group 1 by default, if you haven't changed it, is the group that in a DaDaBIK application contains the admin users. Unique field name in the DaDaBIK users table is ID user. So we use the same for the view. Create view. Okay, now we have to install the view. So users view install. The very last thing, as usual, we have to add the ID user unique field here. Okay, now we can start using this view in our application. Let's check the permissions. Brands, users view. Okay, for example, let's talk about salesman. And okay, so because of the configuration I had, all the permissions were set for all the groups. So as you can see, we have yes for all the operations here, and yes for most of the fields, operations, combinations here. We probably have to tune a little bit these permissions for the various groups we have in our application. For the moment, I would just set no for the ID user field, because we don't want to see or edit or add during creation the ID of a user. So save permissions. Okay. The second thing I'm going to do is in form configurator, copy the form settings from the DaDaBIK users table. This is very important. It's important for various reasons. The most important one is the fact that without this step, you won't get that link that is close to the password field that allows you to encrypt the password for a specific user before registering a new user or before changing the password. So copy form settings, DaDaBIK users to table users view. Copy settings. Okay. All right. And the very last thing I want to do in the form configurator is this one. In the form, in the users form, you have an ID group field that basically allows you to choose the group that user belongs to. We want to keep that field even for this view. However, we don't want to allow our client to modify an existing user and set the group for that user to admin or to add an admin user. So here in where close, we can just write something like ID group different than 1. Okay? And save. All right. Exit admin. So I'm still an admin user now. I just want to check. So for example, Alfio is part of the salesman group. So let's try with Alfio let's try to enter to log in the application with Alfio. All right. So we don't have the edit this application link, and that's fine. But we have the user's view. Of course, you can change the label here to something more user-friendly, like just users. And if I click here, I can see all the users except from admins. I can also modify or delete an existing user. If I want to modify the group, I don't have here the admin group. I can also add a new user, okay, with the link to encrypt the password. Again, even in this case, I don't have the admin group here, and of course, when I insert a new user through this view, that user will be registered to the DaDaBIK users table. All right. So everything seems to work fine, but there is one thing that you still have to do for security reasons. You have to add a before insert and before update hook to check if the user we are trying to insert will be an admin user. Of course, you should check the ID group field. If for the user we are trying to modify, we are trying to change the group from a non-admin group to an admin group. This is useful because if someone tries to break the security of the application using the DaDaBIK application itself, maybe bypassing this form, you can detect that just before the operation is executed. So if one of the conditions I mentioned before is true, you have to stop the execution of the program and to track that event by sending an email to yourself and by logging the event somewhere. Because if that happens, probably something bad from the point of view of the security of your application is happening. And that's it for this video. I hope it was useful. As usual, you can ask for any details in adding a comment or on our forum. So see you next time. Ciao!